The Morning Dump from Hurrdat Sports with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
It's that time. DB Andrew Rogers Morning Dump from Hale Varsity Club. I got my morning dump in this morning. Did you?
Like excess information. Yeah, I processed through that.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's TMI. I don't need to know about all that.
I'll let people know mine. It was nice.
That's one of the many things that makes us different.
I enjoyed my time this morning scrolling on Twitter.
You overshare. I sometimes don't overshare.
I'm just an open book.
Well, let's read.
Let's read right into this. At Hale Varsity Club, the only place that you can get all the games, all the action, the best food, the best beer, come to Hale Varsity Club. It is a great family atmosphere as well, just to share a night out with the group. Also, if you're looking for the first news coming out of Husker Nation, Lincoln, go to Hale Varsity. Hale Varsity, get that subscription. A great team of writers. If you're looking for that yearly subscription, go with DB. If you're looking for that monthly subscription, go with AR. You see how I put you first there?
Yeah, I like that, even though A comes before D.
You're welcome. I just take a lot of heat from you whenever I put you second.
Oh, yeah, I'm regular heaty, I mean. Always wanted to heat you up.
Hey, speaking of heat.
Yeah, as in Miami or the temp or what do we got?
Ooh, Miami. Didn't they get a win?
Your bowling game?
2 days ago? Butler led them to victory? Jimmy Butler, he's my guy.
It's always the Butler that did it. Do you have
it is.
Do you play Clue or do you need a clue?
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes
Get
I
a clue? Is that Disney movie? Get a clue?
Sometimes I need one.
No, Clue. I like the board game Clue.
I do too.
Takes a while.
It's okay. Occupies your free time. Good 2 hours playing with the kids.
It's a fun game. No, speaking of heat, though, yesterday we got into a conversation about officiating, what you can do if you go back and look at a review. And I'm curious to know how many people really at home fell on one side or the other.
Yeah, I was just feeling like you had a preposterous idea.
And I don't think so. I still will stay home.
But do you notice how you very smartly worded your poll question? Is it outrageous?
It was my thesis, man. It was my thesis.
Is it outrageous to think? I'm like, wait a minute. Like, why are you putting people on the extreme to start the poll question? It's very clever.
Hey, and you know what? A day before, you put out a poll question, too, that said, in regards to difficulty.
Yeah.
Not just.
Because that's what I'm talking about. Because I don't want people to think which was the better catch. Which one do you think was tougher?
I know what you're saying. I totally went the route I did with that poll question.
Because you're crafty.
Purposely.
He's crafty. But guess what? So, it
was still pretty even, though.
A couple of my buddies were like, hey, man, you're pretty passionate, man. Take it easy on your guy. And I was like, no.
Don't take it easy.
I was like, we're good. I said,
that was probably our best show so far.
I'm like, I'm hypersensitive to stuff like that as a competitor, right? Like, that's kind of how I preface the whole thing, right? Like, I want it in my own control.
Well, and I told you before we even started, I said, I'm going to have a take, and I'm going to take it to my grave, no matter what. Like, you could influence me to be on your side, but I would never fully tell you that you're right.
I'm all in. So I saw this. Actually, my buddy sent this to me on Twitter, and I thought you ought to hear it.
Yeah.
Because it's one Kelsey talking to another Kelsey about officiating. Mm-hmm. Shane, let it ride and tell me if you hear passion in two guys that like to compete. This is Jason talking to Travis.
I cannot stand people blaming referees. We had so many opportunities to win that football game that we didn't take care of.
100%.
There's a feeling now more than ever, and I think part of it's just because of replay and the ability to slow things down and everything's in high definition. So it's very apparent when an official doesn't make the correct call or misses something, right?
Yeah.
Officials ain't going to be perfect. They ain't going to make every call. And the reality is you got to go out there and play the game that's called. That was a face mask on Dallas Goddard. No, it wasn't. You know why? Because they didn't throw the goddamn flag. All right? So it wasn't a face mask. All right? It's a loser's mentality to put it on somebody else.
I'm with you, man.
It really bothers me when people put it on officials.
I've done it in the past. I've blamed games. I blamed a playoff loss against the Steelers to a ref and told him he couldn't even work a Foot Locker. I've said some of the silliest sore loser that anybody could ever say.
In the moment, you're going to be pissed off. But the reality is there's so many other moments in the game.
Was that a drop that Shane made, like with the music on the back, or was that
Shane is talented, but so now Jason Kelsey revs hot. Well, they both do, right? But
They're hilarious.
I'm just telling you, like for athletes, that's a hot spot. So when you teed that up for me yesterday, I thought you were kind of joking with me because just uncontrollably it elicits responses from me that you're not normally going to get. Like that is a hot button topic for me.
So something he said at the beginning of that really resonated with me was you had so many other chances to win that football game. And I couldn't agree more with Jason when he said that. Could not agree more. However, I still disagree. I still think, and you asked me something yesterday, and I don't know why it took me a long time to reflect on how I would present this rule to the committee. Because you're like, how would you go about doing that? Because there's so many intricacies that go into placing a sub-rule underneath something.
Yes.
The only way I thought about it, the only way that it could work is that if you go back and review the turnover, if the penalty caused the turnover, then you could go back and enforce it. That's the only way.
I still think that's interesting because you'd be thinking to yourself, was that a face mask that I missed? Let's go back and look at it. Like, what would be the catalyst to know if it caused the turnover? You know what I mean?
You go into choppy waters with pass interference then.
Chop.
Because, both guys pushing and shoving each other, and then if it leads to an interception or
there's way more egregious things that are called that affect outcomes other than that. Like illegal contact. Why is illegal contact an automatic first down? Is there a worse rule in football other than the spot foul on pass interference? Like, I have no idea why that's an automatic first down.
Yeah. You're right. It's crazy.
Has anybody ever – it's the cheapest thing I've ever seen. I can't stand it. It's already an offensive game, and you're talking to an offensive – well, I've coached way more defense in the last 10 years than offense. But, I like offense. I just don't like unfair advantages. It's already an offensive game. There's lots of other things I'd change other than that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. There are so many things that could be adjusted.
We can't even spot a goddamn football.
No.
And we're worried about whether we should overturn a non-called penalty that led to a turnover. You ever seen spotting a football? It apparently is the most difficult thing in all of sports.
It truly is. I mean, I understand, maybe – couple inches forward, couple inches back, but these are yards.
Who, you, Paula Abdul? It sounded like a line in a song. Is that Paula Abdul? Wasn't there a cat in the cartoon or something like that? 2 steps forward,
2 steps back.
Yeah, thank you, Shane.
Yeah.
Opposites attract.
Straight up.
That. I should air dap you. That was well done.
Damn right, yes, I am impressed.
That's
just laying in the cuts.
That's the experience side of the table here.
Yeah, liquid Shano. That is so good.
No, but you're right when it comes to spotting the ball because it seems like when you get tackled a yard short or anywhere close to the line to gain, and all of a sudden the ball is halfway across the first down line.
You want to know what really drives me crazy? With spotting the ball. They automatically throw their hands up like it's just it's not doable when they go to replay. You hear it in the booth. This is such a difficult thing to overturn. I mean, forward progress. And actually, it's not that hard, right? When that guy stopped moving.
That's where Damon pauses the TV and goes,
where was the ball?
Let's educate.
Do you know what I mean? They speak it into existence like spotting the ball is an impossible thing.
Well, and it's crazy because from inside the 10 opposed to inside both 10s, right? When you're going to score a touchdown, it's like they're insane at spotting the football, right? It's like, he didn't get into the end zone. His knee was down. How do you see his knee was down when 20 bodies are piled on top of each other?
They are really good at what they do, right?
Well, in that case, they are. But then in the middle of the field, it's like, anything goes.
So You ever watch like the side judges and stuff when they go to spot the ball, like whether they're going diagonal or not? They're
I
coming
don't really
in from
pay
the side.
attention.
Oh, fudge! So like my vantage points now, especially being in the booth and even on the sidelines, like in high school, I'm always. That's my perspective, right? I'm like, okay, let's move the sticks or don't move the sticks. That's fourth down or whatever, and there is like this consternation. Is it the left foot, the right foot? You watch them walk in towards the ball, and it seems like I'm like, wait a minute.
You're trying to like walk the line after a long night out with Pop stopping you.
Can you guys come to an agreement on this? It's like it's. Things,
I have seen them adjust course.
It's things like that drive me crazy a lot more than like, let's say, and believe me, Goddard doesn't want that call. He doesn't. Goddard rather take better care of the football than.
Well, I think it led to him dropping the football.
Maybe. Stuff happens, though.
So I think he would want that call in particular,
listen,
in other cases, I know what you're saying.
That would be like going to your teammates along the offensive line or something like that and say, hey, listen, man, I know that was maybe illegal hands to the face when you got beat on that pass rush, but, man, they should review that on that when they batted the ball, that quarterback's hands, man. Like, we good? Like, they'll take care of us. Nah, man, people don't want it like that, AR.
I just would love for, the players to control their own destiny at the end of the day. So that's where I'm with you in a lot of your case.
Luke, I am your father.
Now, you know who wants that ball back? Josh Allen after fumbling it in the end zone.
Yeah.
What was
do you not know his affinity for Star Wars?
Well, I told you I'm not a Star Wars guy.
Oh, then I don't know how you guys have made it this far.
Shaner and I? Well, that's why he's in a little box.
Hey, that studio is pretty sweet, right? Like they built
the setup is sick.
They built that bad boy for that little kid from the ground up.
Well, it's a playhouse. It's a children's playhouse, and it fits Shane perfectly.
Unbelievable, and he had help from the great Sasha Durkin, who.
Oh yeah, Pat Safford, Cam Broham, all of them.
K Bizzle.
Contributing, making that thing what it is.
I'm an Izzle guy sometimes. I know it's old because like Snoop did that in like the early 2000s.
You bring it back.
100% silver.
He's got a drop for everything.
He's low key. He's crazy.
Snoop or Shane?
Well, both. Have you seen Shane try to hit the crip walk? Okay. Simmer down a little fella.
Hey, let's get into a Husker Badgers preview here in the Battle of the Interims.
Yeah.
Last home game.
When's the last time that's happened? A couple of interims that aren't in a bowl game?
When was the last time there were multiple interims in the same conference?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question.
We'll have to look that up.
It's a good question.
Leonard 3-2, Joseph 2-5. Wisconsin opened as 13-point favorites in this game. It dropped to 12.5. Thank goodness, because I was so worried.
Listen, give me all 12.5 of those.
A win makes the Badgers bowl eligible. Biggest question mark entering Saturday's game, of course, is who's starting at quarterback for the Huskers. Casey Thompson has been sidelined with that nerve injury in his throwing arm, at least the last 2.5 games, but he was throwing in team drills Tuesday and has a chance to return.
Is it Sheboygan, Wisconsin, or Elbogan?
Sheboygan.
Is it Elbogan?
Elbogan. That's funny.
My L's broken. Elbogan, Sheboygan.
You're a funny guy.
Dude, I don't.
I like the dad joke.
Don't mind me. I'm total. I'm not that funny.
And I'm ahead of my time when it comes to dad jokes.
Because you have an old soul.
Oh, yeah, I do. 80s music guy,
listen,
dad jokes.
I've spent enough time around you last 3 or 4 months. You're way older than your age.
Although I'm still very uncultured.
That's okay. Me too.
And that's okay.
You ever got any pop culture conversation talk with me? I'm arguably
Thank
the worst
goodness.
person on the planet.
Thank goodness, no.
But that's not your forte, is it?
No.
Not like
we could make a segment
not like
out of
Joseph or Matt, a different forte.
Thanks.
Carolina reference.
Bears reference, you mean?
By the way, how bad was Duke offensively last night? Was that trash? They got a lot of guys that play alike. They need some shooting.
How about that game prior to, though? That Michigan-Kentucky game?
The ultimate meltdown. Nah, it wasn't the ultimate. It was a big-time meltdown, though. For
the ultimate
Kentucky.
play calling down the stretch by Tom Izzo.
Cal. Give me is. Wowzer.
Are you kidding?
Cal's going to be kicking himself over that.
There were so many moments late in that game where I said they literally ran a high school basketball inbound play. Yeah. And it works. Yeah. Because when you run the play correctly, things like that tend to work.
Did you see any parts of Creighton and Nebraska women's where how many times was Nebraska going to give up a backdoor cut? I was like,
crazy.
Wow. I was like, wow.
Creighton in control of that game from start to finish.
So, recipe for disaster early. We're just pinging all over the place, but I like it. It's rapid fire. 5 turnovers in the first 5 minutes totally set the tone. Mm-hmm. And then, Creighton's lead balloons.
Mogensen shot the heck out of the basketball.
Listen, I'm telling you, pick your poison for who can get you. I'm just going to continue to keep – see, that's the theme for this Creighton bunch. 4 or 5 different guys, or gals, can lead you on any given night. And it wasn't super aesthetically pleasing because I don't think either team shot it like they're capable of shooting, even though I'm sure Creighton will take 11 of 24 from 3, but Nebraska just 5 of 18. But and having said that, Creighton only went to the foul line 10 times in a game like that where it's a game of runs. And you kind of felt early going back to the series between these two teams, somebody's going to go on a double-digit run, right, erase a big lead. Creighton was just having no parts of it.
Well, and it doesn't help either for Nebraska that each quarter it seemed like Creighton was getting out to a 6-0 lead, 8-0 lead, and now you're trying to just play catch-up the entire quarter. We talked about Jazz, though, on yesterday's show, and she really stepped up in a big way for the Huskers, putting up her average point total, but also doing the work to spread the floor. It's just
didn't shoot it well enough, though.
The whole team really didn't shoot well.
Yeah. So
when I look back on that game, it's just, Creighton had a lot of momentum from the start and never let it go.
No, and, it's going to be a dangerous bunch. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Big East just because of their offensive versatility. And they showed last night they can get stops. Nebraska had 18 turnovers.
Can't win a lot of basketball games.
Especially when your opponent only has I don't even think Creighton finished in double digits in terms of turnovers, maybe 9. So with a disparity like that, when you're going to give up 11 made threes, that's going to be a tough night at the office.
Going back on the Huskers now, as DB said, we kind of got off on a little bit here, a little bit there, conversation.
Just pinging a little bit. Ping,
it's
ping.
like pinball.
Ping, ping,
we'll bring it back. The ball's still alive.
Ping, ping.
It's still rolling around out there. We're collecting coins. Chubba Purdy is out indefinitely. Of course, he needs ankle surgery. Logan Smothers playing through injuries right now of his own, but nothing will hinder him from starting if Casey can't go. Causing stir on Twitter, though, is this. I was looking through a lot of feeds surrounding who the backup was going to be for this game, and when Mickey Joseph said it was going to be Jarrett Sinek. Sinek, excuse me. Thank you.
Correct.
Multiple freakouts from people wondering why it isn't Harburger Torres.
Yeah. Listen, I think it's different for both guys. Number one, Torres hasn't been healthy. And the difficult thing for, I think, Henrik Harburg is I think his is more emotional than it is physical because he's got really good physical tools. I think Harburg kind of strikes me as the kind of guy, AR, where it's like he's raising his hand wanting to be seen, and they just don't quite see him.
See him yet?
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, and I think it's weighed on him emotionally a little bit because sometimes you feel like you're capable of doing more. You want the opportunity to do more. And I think his is probably more his got to hang in there than it is he's void of talent. And listen.
Development.
And it can be an indictment. I understand that when you've got a walk-on from Hastings that jumps a couple of quarterbacks in the rotation. But a couple of things can be true at once, right? The guys ahead of you that are on scholarship, in air quotes, cannot be developing at a certain pace as other guys that are in the quarterback position is a hard position to evaluate, right? I mean, Baker Mayfield was a top 5 pick in the NFL, and I disagree or agree with whether he should have been.
Number 1 overall pick.
But he walked on. And so sometimes at the quarterback spot, there's a lot of intangibles that come into being a good quarterback. It's not just all about physical talents, right? Just ask Akili Smith and Ryan Leaf, and there's a lot of guys with big arms and good athleticism that are sitting at the house playing behind guys or watching guys like Taylor Heineke and Baker Mayfield play. So the quarterback position isn't the end-all, be-all when it comes to measurables. Sometimes it's intangibles, and when I look at Sinek, he's a guy that's used to winning and has never played with a uber amount of talent around him. And I told you, kind of gave you a sneak peek last week. Just in watching him practice, like I had to kind of stick around and just watch him spin it. And I'm not just saying that because he happens to be the guy, but I was talking to some folks out in Nebraska City, and I said, keep an eye on this kid. I said, it just left practice, and it was interesting how much work he was getting. People would ask me about Masker or Torres.
Right.
I said, I don't know, man. I think they liked the way number 9 was spinning it, and he kept
He's not the biggest body either.
No, but you know what? There's just – I don't know how many games you're going to win with him, but I'm just saying, like, if you walked into a room and there wasn't ends on the helmet or Power 5 football and you watched the guys throw the ball, he'd show you that he belongs.
Well, I'm more thinking Sinek got the job because he looks like Sunshine from Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Prolific backup.
Well, we need that kind of defense, too. They go on the strong side, right side. Are we going to have that?
I think
Saturday
so. I think so. They will need it.
Braylon Allen and company?
They will need it. In all seriousness, I also think Sinek just fits more in Whipple's offense. You look for that guy that is more of a pocket passer, and that's what he is. He can get his legs moving. He's athletic enough to do that. But in his last 2 years of high school, this is a guy that threw for over 2,500 yards. Mm-hmm. That just fits Mark Whipple.
Yeah.
It may not be what the fans want to hear, but at least it fits his coaching style. Kind of, maybe that's a stretch. Maybe I'm reaching for something there when I say that's why he got it. But I'll trust your judgment more than anything. Now, keys to the game here.
What's up, Mr. Tiemann?
Keys to the game here. You mentioned it. There's just so many things defensively that Nebraska needs to do to continue giving their team a chance to win this game. And the first one, the biggest priority, is slowing down Braylon Allen.
Yeah.
He racked up over 200 yards and 3 scores last year. But last week, you saw that, he has spurts of greatness, and against stronger, better defenses, he's kind of lost in that offense. Yes, Illinois and Iowa are premier defenses, but this season so far, he hasn't totaled his normal numbers against great defenses.
Yeah, I just kind of I look back and I wonder how healthy he is. Doesn't appear to be the same. And, let's be honest, this isn't vintage Wisconsin Badger offensive line play either. I think he's a super talented guy. They outgained Iowa in a lot of statistical categories. Although neither team rushed the ball really well, I felt like when you only give up 94 yards net passing to a team, but when you only have 154 yourself, it's like nothing to write home about. But you felt like, Wisconsin just got outplayed by Iowa's defense.
That's how they win games.
In terms of creating turnovers and special teams.
There was one guy on that defense that caught a pick 6 last week.
For Iowa.
For Iowa. Who was that?
Taylor?
No.
Cooper DeJean.
DeJean, yeah.
My boy.
Yeah, that is your guy. I forgot the Sioux City. And you're such a lover.
I do flock.
Where is your Cooper DeJean jersey that you used to wear? Did I shame you into not wearing that? Because you rolled with that about a month ago, and I was just like –
I wore it on the bye week.
But, so Coach Parker and those guys, and obviously just familiar with that staff just because of how they recruited, and Coach Woods, LeVar Woods, who does an amazing job with those guys and special teams. And not to go all Iowa hour when we're talking Nebraska, Wisconsin, but that game was a clear-cut testament to one team knowing exactly who they are and not panicking.
They know their identity.
And another team trying to figure it out. And people laughed at Coach Ferentz. Remember, hey, listen, we got to go back
season long.
We got to go back to work. We've talked through. We've had some 2-game skids. We've had some 3-game skids before. We got to go back.
People were calling for heads in that department.
We got to go back to the drawing board and work harder. Everybody's like, oh, that's Kurt. It's PR team.
Yeah, we need a different quarterback.
Yeah.
Petrus isn't it.
Guess who controls their own destiny? That would be Iowa. So, it's not the end-all, be-all, because that's not necessarily the way that you want to play. My point in saying that is when you have a culture and an identity, you give yourself an 80% chance because the fallback game is tough. And when you have to fall back on something and it's your training, man, you got an advantage when you know who you are.
146 yards won't cut it this week for Nebraska. It did for Iowa, but as you just stated, Iowa is a premier defense in college football. Nebraska doesn't rank in the top 3 in total defense, and a lot of Iowa's scoring this year has come via defensive turnovers. So because you're second in the nation in defensive touchdowns, that's where Nebraska this week needs to do a little bit of what they did against Minnesota, in my opinion. Finding ways to get points on the board early and forcing Wisconsin to do what they're uncomfortable doing.
Yeah, I just get the weird sense this game is close. I was talking to some of the guys, Jay Moore and Severe, last night in score predictions, and I don't think either one of them had Nebraska score more than 13 points. For some reason, I think they do. And it won't be much more than that. It'd be in the 16 to 20 point range. But I think Nebraska plays Wisconsin extremely close on Saturday, and certainly within the 12.5.
I think it all depends on what Graham Mertz you're going to get in this game. Are you going to get the one that threw for 299 yards and 5 touchdowns against Northwestern, which is a middle-of-the-pack pass defense in the Big Ten, or the one that threw for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns in the double overtime loss to Michigan State, who has the second worst pass defense in the Big Ten? If you stop Braylon Allen, or you at least limit him, because if you look back at Braylon Allen's numbers so far this season, teams in the Big Ten that allow 110-plus rushing yards per game, he's eclipsed that number while adding 5 touchdowns, 5.7 yards per carry. So he does really well against defenses that match up to his strengths. But if you find some way to limit his production, and you go back on Graham Mertz now, and you say, Graham Mertz beat us, which one are you going to get in this game? 1 or 2? And based on what I'm seeing.
What is Mertz? Mertz is 18-8, right? TDs to INTs. So he's going to give you some shots at it in terms of getting your hands on footballs. I'll be curious to see if Nebraska catches those, because their secondary was probably the lone bright spot against Michigan. I felt like they covered well. They tackled well.
Weather was a nice perk, too.
Gifford played well at the safety spot, moving him away from his traditional nickel spot after Sanford got hurt on special teams. And so I think they can build on that if you can smother Wisconsin outside the numbers and allow your free defender to play in the run game. That's something that I'll be keeping an eye on.
So you mentioned score predictions, and you were tossing out the thought of people had Nebraska around 13.
It's a 23-17 kind of game, 23-16 kind of game, I think, for Nebraska, Wisconsin. Nebraska's played Wisconsin close, and it's been some talent discrepancies before, especially as of late. So I think they'll be up for this one, and I do think I think Casey Thompson plays. I really do. I know a lot of other people may not. I don't have that on any good authority other than I just get a good feel for what I think he's been ramping up towards. And I've told you this, off pod. He listens and knows. So when media and people say, I'm telling you, you want to get me started, this is another one of those hot takes, right, or hot button topics. Stop asking why a player would play. What's he coming back for? Why would he play? Man, you can miss me with all of that. When guys like to compete, there are guys that'll go play pickup, right? Just to go get a game in because they want to compete. And
I played pickup 2 weekends ago.
Listen, and he's not afraid. It's not like he's not thinking, "Hey man, I'm gonna go out there and I may get hurt." No, real dogs, they don't think about that. They want to play. And I challenge you to this: ask a guy or gal that's used to playing, and they're going through an injury, how they feel watching other people play.
All you want to do is be on the field.
And listen to their answers, and that's exactly why you shouldn't say things like, well, why would you? I mean, it's easy for the armchair folks and for folks to get behind the microphone like we do. Oh, I wouldn't come back. Man, listen, you never played before.
Well, it's an easy crutch to lean on. I never played college football, but I was a competitor growing up.
And you want to play. It's hard. It's hard watching peers play.
I brought it up to you just either yesterday or a couple of days ago when I stood next to Caleb on the sidelines. Yeah. And I could tell, physically, he wants to be in the game. And it eats him alive.
It's hard.
That he's standing on the sidelines and he has to be a leader, a coach, not because he gets benched, but because he's hurt and he's trying to get back from injury. But that doesn't mean he's going to sit out a state title game.
Yeah.
And it's a different story because you're like, well, it's a state title game. Of course he's going to play.
In a similar vein, but not to make this about him, right? People say, hey, you know what? We got basketball right around the corner, right? Like,
and that's where I was leading.
Why would you risk it? And I'm just telling you, ask him. It's the same as I'm saying to Nebraska fans out there. Trust me when I tell you, if Casey Thompson can go, he's playing, and he wants to play. And in my opinion, I think he absolutely plays on Saturday.
Well,
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Here's where I'm at to all the fans that do say something similar too. Are you happy with losing? Do you like to go to Memorial Stadium or sit down on your couch on a Saturday and watch Nebraska lose? Does Casey Thompson give you the best chance to win? Don't you feel good when you win a game, whether it means you go to a bowl game or whether that means
he knows what his teammates have gone through.
Right.
He knows what they've had to put up with. He's seen Coach Joseph and that staff reinvest in kids and their best, the young men in their best interests, and on and off the field. And I think there's this sense of conviction as a competitor that you want to do what you can to help out, and I think that's exactly who he is.
Fans want to win, players want to win. That's the discussion at the end of the day.
Yep.
I don't care what you're playing
left,
for.
2 games. Yeah.
This is senior day. It's the last home game. Why wouldn't he want to play? He has to wait now. How many months?
Yeah.
8-9 months to play again.
Yeah. No, believe me, you ain't got to convince me. I get it.
This is something that you want to close out the season strong on a high note. Casey Thompson wants to be on the field.
Yeah.
Period.
Zero question in my mind.
Now, for me, score prediction, I think we're going to see something a little Rutgers-like here. I bet we see like a 14-13.
Wouldn't that be
final.
Something? That would be spectacular. Even for an 11 a.m. kick. It'd be cold and a little dreary. I'd be all in.
Isn't it 2:30?
No, it's 11. It's 11. Trust me.
What was my? I know. I do trust you.
I mean, they're
what
like,
was
hey,
DraftKings telling me today?
That radio show starts at 7 a.m. in Lincoln.
Check.
I'm like, wait, we're starting when? No, that bad boy's 11 a.m.
Dude, I swear I checked on DraftKings today because I was looking at the line fluctuation. It said 2:30 on there. Yeah. I swear.
Well, that's why you need.
I didn't go to the actual schedule.
That's why you need FanDuel and not DraftKings. Okay.
You did. Oh my goodness, what a story I told DB too about a sports bet.
Unbelievable.
Win. So
you have a degenerate friend though.
I do. Oh, he's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy lucky. He is the luckiest sports bettor I know.
Well, my man showed me a $10 ticket to win $3,000. I'm like, stop. just.
And he's done it before.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy.
What was that? 4 anytime touchdowns, right?
Uh-huh.
I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Different parlay, though. He had a Monday Night Football parlay that actually should have been retracted. Like, the bet should have gone away. It was all green for the longest time, but Devontae Smith ended with 39 receiving yards, not 50 because of that fumble. Still paid him out.
Yeah.
What a lucky guy, dude. Like,
must be good living. You are looking live.
Put a little frosting on the cake.
Crazy. Yep. I hope we see some crazy football too on Saturday at 11 o'clock in Memorial Stadium. Pack that place. I saw that our friends from the No Block No Rock podcast said that tickets are very cheap for that game. So if you're looking for your chance to go check out Nebraska this year, Wisconsin was actually the one on my radar that I wanted to go to because I'm a big fan of Braylon Allen, just to watch him in real time. So pack up the family. Go tailgate, have some fun on Saturday, and cheer on the Huskers and help them pack that place so that, that noise, maybe make it a little uneasy, the environment uneasy for Wisconsin. Make it fun for your boys on the football field. Come away with a win.
Yeah, Riley, one good time.
Come away. Now, again, At Hale Varsity Club, if you're not at the game, come here to watch the game. The game will be on every TV. You can get food, you can get drinks, all the specials, all the bells and whistles, especially if you're a subscriber to Hale Varsity, halevarsity.com. Use that promo code AR for monthly, DB for yearly. We'll be back again tomorrow. Not sure what's on the plate, the topic plate just yet, but
College football playoffs, I'm sure, will come up.
yeah, we'll get there.
I'm surprised you didn't get at me about how Carolina just squeaked past Gardner-Webb. I mean, there's lots out there.
Yeah, I didn't want to hone in on that today.
They're not playing well.
I didn't want to hone in.
It's all those Carolina directional schools that they've been playing against that are just giving.
Well, they gave